to all members of the 162 Southland family. I wanted to take this opportunity to share some news personally because we're going to have to make what we call a pivot. In other words, a change. Over the last 3 months, as various things have happened to us, we've adopted the word pivot simply because we always want to look at everything positively. We never want to concentrate on the negative. And what we want to do is to look at any change as something that's going to enhance education, a way to keep our children safe. And so we've adopted the word pivot. You may or may not be aware via the news media that a positivity rate in the state of Illinois is edging up, not drastically as it is perhaps in California, in Georgia, in Texas, but it is becoming more of an issue as we move forward. But what is probably most disturbing is throughout the nation, a number of schools are opening, and you're aware that Notre Dame is opening, UCLA, they've been in the newspaper prominently, but a number of elementary schools and high schools are opening, and all of them seem to be having issues. And by that I mean pockets of COVID-19 breaking out among the student body in particular. Sometimes you see a reaction from the various teachers' unions because they're hesitant to do in-person education with our children. I want to begin by saying that's not the attitude of our teachers. We're 600 strong. We're actually together a relatively large school district. But our teachers as a whole, I feel, even though there's tension, because we all know what we're facing, that we're anticipating coming back to school with masks, and our teachers are back doing staff development. I've been ever so proud of them. We had a staff development last week on trauma in students, because this affects them as well as us. 150 teachers were present on Zoom as we did that intensive staff development. And then we've gone to Google Meets, and 150 teachers on, 200 teachers on. Teachers are really trying to perfect their skills, and I did not receive any kind of organized pushback as we sought to reopen in our hybrid manner. However, when we look at this throughout the nation, seems to be an uptick, and it's concerning because when we open, we come together as a collective. Obviously, we were going to emphasize temperature taking. Obviously, we had masks. You've seen the social distancing within our schools, but we're still a collective. There's still children, and there's still that individual, I want to say creativity that children have because suddenly they're together with their friends. So this was of a concern, but we were prepared to go forward because who are we as teachers if we don't have children? So that's really our biggest reason, and that's what's in my heart. But on Friday, we received a notification from the Illinois Public Health Department, which established new guidelines for schools and reopening. We opened for summer school, didn't make any difference. 9 students, 1 teacher, wonderful. 8 children on a bus with a teacher, bus driver, taking temperatures. We were prepared to do all of that and more as we opened. But the new guidelines say, first of all, that all of our RNs, registered nurses, and we do have 8 of them, each one in each of our buildings, they would have to be fitted with N95 masks. Does that bother us? No, we have N95 masks. But the new guidance says that they must be fitted masks, which means that they must go to a hospital. This has to be done by someone that is trained to do it, and this is a repetitive kind of a situation where every few days they would have to go back and be fitted with another mask. That in itself was not a concern, but then the guidance went on to say that if anyone had any one symptom, and we had been trained, we were looking for temperatures, we were on top of that. We have very sophisticated devices in our schools to take temperatures, prepared to do it twice a day, 3 times a day, it really doesn't matter. But the guidance said that if students had a runny nose, then we would consider this as a possible indication that they had COVID. If they were coughing, that's a possible indicator. And it went on with several other possible indicators. And that the way that we were to react, we were to engage in what is known as contact tracing. We were to identify students that were on the bus, identify students that were in the classroom, and the siblings who may or may not be in that building, but are enrolled in our district, and everyone would go home for 10 days. They would be able to come back with a medical clearance from a doctor. But this guidance then began us to think, made us think about this whole process of bringing the children back to school. But still, we were determined that this was something that we could do, and we began to work through this over the weekend and to think about how we could manage this. We anticipated that someone would be ill. We certainly are not foolish. Within our environment, our parental base is a little over 8,000. Something was going to happen to someone, and we cannot control the context that the students have outside of the environment. So we anticipated something. But then the guidance went on to tell us about restructuring our buses, and we were going to put 24 on a bus. Every child had their own seat, but now they talked about 10 feet that would separate every child, which means in essence we would be back to 8 children on a bus. So we began to get a little worried. Number one, first of all, the mask and the contact tracing, the N95 mask and the contact tracing. We're not a medical center. We are a group of teachers who simply want to educate our children. I believe, that face-to-face education is the strongest thing, it's the strongest process, it's the strongest strategy that we have. But what is in our hearts and our minds also is the safety of our children. So we did begin to meet over the weekend and met continuously. We've been monitoring our numbers. And I don't know if I've shared this concretely with you, but on the 162 side, we were always 60-40. 60% of you wanted your children to be educated in a remote manner, and we were 40% who wanted in-house. Last week, the numbers began to decrease and decrease, shifting to the remote side. And in some cases, the Arcadia, the Indiana, we ended up with 31% of the students in, and some of the classes were 4 or 5 students. So I sense the concern by the decrease in the numbers in terms of in-person education. Southland is a little different. We were at 65%, and as the numbers began to decrease, then it settled in the 50s. I know that your viewpoint of the teenagers is a little different, but in Southland, our issue is very different than in the elementary schools. Students must move. High school is not equipped to do instruction and to confine students to one room. They have to go to the science lab, they go to dance, they go to band, et cetera, et cetera. It's impossible for us to provide a quality education and keep them confined. So that was always something that was in our minds. But now, as we look at what is happening throughout the nation, I just finished looking at a broadcast where a school district is shutting down. We know that there's really only one thing that we can do and keep everyone safe. And so therefore, after discussion with both of our boards, we're going to open until September 30th in a remote manner. Um, I'm hoping we're going to open aggressively, and that certainly you're going to be more pleased with the education that we present in the fall as compared to the spring. You might ask why. I have never been more impressed with the structure of the school improvement plans than the ones that were presented this summer by the principals. Magnificent. They considered everything. The regression that we know is there, the issue of things that were not presented, not taught in the fourth quarter, and how we were going to move forward. We're going to put that on our website because it still is our intent to implement this, whether we have to remain in remote or whether we're able to fight our way out and go to hybrid. Also, we were not able to consistently communicate with you in the spring. We're in the process now at Southland of distributing iPads and Chromebooks. If you have not picked yours up, please don't wait for a phone call. Come immediately and pick up your device, because in this way we can communicate directly with you. The distribution of the Chromebooks and laptops for 162 will be next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as we move forward towards our big grand opening. And you may say, what's grand about the opening? We're going to try to give this everything that we have. Our teachers now are in the building doing staff development on Google Meets. We're going to find out who needs to have their internet connection reinforced. We have over 400 hotspots. We've rewired our schools, trying to make sure that if there's a problem, it's not on our end. But the most important thing is the anticipation of the teachers. They really are very excited. We were out in the hinterlands in our homes in the spring. We will be here in all 8 of our schools as we present and begin to move forward. First of all, Southland opening on the 24th, 162 opening on the 31st. I sense the anticipation, I sense the enthusiasm. I feel confident of our ability to present an education that is far superior to what we were able to do in the spring. Is it what we want to do? No. In the best of all possible worlds, we would want all children back in the school. It's not possible now, and you know the reasons why. It seems that this virus is picking up in intensity by all of the numbers and all the statistics. We have to follow the science. But I absolutely know that we're going to be stronger and we're going to be more consistent, and there's going to be an interaction, because now this will be live presentations, and because you're using our instruments, we can actually respond back to you. So as we train our teachers, they're becoming more and more excited. If a child has a question, then they can get immediate response to the question. If there's something wrong with your technology and you inform us, we're able to, in a sense, virtually take over and look inside of the computer to see what's wrong and to resolve that. So for those reasons, I feel confident about our ability to move forward. But okay, we know about the openings, the 24th for the high school, the 31st for 162, but then what? We're not comfortable with giving up the fight. What we want to say to you is on September 30th, we will be looking at what is going on in our environment, what's going on in our state, what's going on nationwide, and we will make a decision as to whether or not we should stay on remote, or if we should give you a 2-week notice that we're moving into hybrid. And that's our goal, to move into hybrid. To be very honest with you, I don't see any time in the next few months that we will be coming to you to make an announcement that we're simply going to open and everyone come. I say that because we don't have a hold of this. The information is changing. Perhaps the dynamic of this virus is changing. I don't know that. But I do know that nationwide there's some concerning statistics, and because they're concerning, we have to listen to that. So I'm now going to re-strategize. I'm getting this excitement into my being, and on Monday we are going to open the first of our schools with excitement, with energy, and the teachers are ready, we're ready, but we want you, number one, to understand our decision, but number two, to make sure that you have one of our devices so that you can begin on Monday on Southland and on the 31st on 162. We need you. We need you. We need the strength that you have in terms of excitement. We need you to talk to your children, to tell them the reason why. Because I do think if given the opportunity, all children really want to come back. Their friends are here, the teachers that they know are here, and that would be the best thing if we could do that. And so we're doing a pivot. We're not going to look back on what could have been. This is our structure, a remote, safe structure, but a structure also that's going to emphasize continuous education, continuous communication, and it's the best thing for everyone. Thank you so much for your time and for your understanding. Always, always, I feel your support, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. Stay safe. Thank you.